All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down what is truly a seismic event in the federal AI market. We're talking about a move that sent shockwaves through the entire government contracting world, sidelining a top-tier American AI company and triggering a massive, immediate market realignment.
So here's the headline. For the very first time, a major American AI company, we're talking about Anthropic, has been formally designated a supply chain risk by the Department of War. Now, you have to understand, this isn't just some internal memo. It is a mandatory, full-stop enforcement action that completely changes the game for anyone doing business with the government.
And look, the scale of this thing is just, wow. You can't overstate it. Insiders are calling it the single largest forced AI realignment we've ever seen in the federal space. This is more than a shift. This is a market creation event, forcing a complete reshuffle of tech, of contracts, of strategy, and it's all happening practically overnight.
So to really wrap our heads around this, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the designation itself. Then we'll dig into why this matters so much. After that, we'll walk through a pretty smart three-wave response plan. And finally, we'll look ahead to the new zero-trust future this whole thing is creating for AI and government.
Okay, let's dive right in. How on earth did one of the biggest names in AI get designated a risk? And maybe more importantly, how did it all happen so unbelievably fast? Well, the speed here was just stunning. It all started the last week of February. You had a few agencies kind of voluntarily backing away from Anthropic's tools. But then boom. By March 4th, that quiet suggestion became a mandatory department-wide enforcement action. The next day, both sides confirmed it publicly. In just about a week, the entire market was flipped on its head. And let's be really clear about this. This designation has serious legal teeth. Under U.S. code, it means that every single contractor, from the biggest primes down to the smallest subs, has to systematically rip out any direct use of Anthropic's Claude models from their work. This is not a suggestion, it's a hard and fast contractual requirement. So, what caused all this? The crucial thing to understand is that this wasn't about a tech failure or some security breach. Nope, this was a fundamental policy standoff. The Department of War wanted a guarantee that it could use the AI for any lawful use. Anthropic, however, wasn't willing to give that blanket guarantee, pointing to some serious ethical concerns around things like autonomous weapons. Negotiations completely fell apart, and the designation was the end result. Okay, so we know what happened and we know why. But the really critical part now is the ripple effect, because this one action creates these urgent challenges and, some huge opportunities for three key groups across the entire government contracting world. First up, the system integrators. For them, this is what you'd call a forcing function. It means that literally hundreds of millions of dollars in existing projects have to be immediately reprogrammed. This creates a brand new, super high-demand service, trusted AI migration. If you're an agile company, this is a massive opportunity. But if you're a slower incumbent, you risk losing your spot completely. Now, inside the government itself, you can bet IT leaders are scrambling. They've got to do these emergency, enterprise-wide searches to find every single instance of where Claude is being used. Then, they have to find the money somewhere in their budgets to pay for all these migrations. The silver lining, though, this gives them a really powerful reason to speed up their bigger plans for zero-trust security. And of course, this changes everything for the contracting officers. All of a sudden, new proposals are going to have to explicitly state they aren't using Anthropic. We should probably expect to see a lot more emergency, sole-source contracts just to get these migrations done fast. And this requirement, it's going to flow down to every single subcontractor on every project. It's a big deal. So, with all this chaos, the number one question is, how do you actually respond? Well, the source material lays out a really sharp, actionable playbook, especially for system integrators. It breaks the whole response down into three very clear waves. Wave 1 is about right now the immediate triage. Get those certifications of compliance in and scrub any mention of Claude from proposals you have out there. Wave 2 happens over the next 2 to 3 months. That's execution time. You start offering fixed price deals to move clients over to compliant AI systems. And then Wave 3, that's the long game. That's where you build and market a whole new trusted AI practice to own this new market for the long haul. All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture, because this single event is pointing towards a new long-term reality. This isn't just about one company getting sidelined, it's a signal of a fundamental change in how the government is going to buy and manage AI from now on. Now, we're talking about a lot of money here.
Analysts are forecasting that this one designation is going to unlock somewhere between $650 and $950 million in brand new revenue for these migration and assurance services. And that's just through 2027. A nearly billion-dollar market segment was basically just born out of this one decision.
And this slide right here just perfectly captures the huge philosophical shift that's at the heart of all this. We are moving away from the old way of doing things, where agencies just kind of trusted the safeguards built by commercial companies. The new model? It's a zero-trust AI supply chain. From now on, the government is going to demand continuous, independent proof that any AI tool it uses is secure and reliable.
So, what happens next? Well, experts are making 4 pretty solid predictions. First, and this is a big one, look for a whole new government contract vehicle just for these AI migration services. Second, watch for the major prime contractors to start announcing their own dedicated AI compliance practices. Third, you can expect other federal agencies to start adopting these same kinds of standards. And finally, don't be shocked if Anthropic tries to get back in the game with a specialized Claude Gov offering. It would be a pretty smart move.
So really, when all the dust settles, this whole thing forces a choice. Is this just a new compliance burden, another problem to manage? Or is it a huge strategic market signal, a once-in-a-generation operational windfall for the companies that are agile enough to build what the government now desperately needs? How your organization answers that question, well, that's probably going to define its future in this brand new federal AI landscape.